Now, by popular demand by my Patreons and also my subscribers, along with in collaboration with TSM as a whole, I am going to be doing a full-scale TSM series starting today. We will be going from as a beginner, just starting out with making our own TSM profile, while setting up all of the operations and everything in between in a nice little 7-part series. Today, we're going to be checking out groups and operations for basic mechanics to get you started, and we'll build out from there. Let us begin. Off, I've decided to make a new profile called the YouTube version, and by the end of this series, anyone will be able to take this basic concept from the Discord as well to go inside with everything. So that being said, let's go into our groups and have a mosey over towards everything. As you can see, we've got our base group, and that being said, we're going to be wanting to make up a new set of groups in order to do our base crafting. What we can do here is we can build out the cooking operation, as my character has cooking. So what we'll do is we'll just set up a new group and just call it cooking. When it comes towards everything, we can have a look at our lovely little profession. Now, looking at everything, we'll be wanting to go with classic just for simplicity's sake. We can take a hold of the yellow spotted tail fish at this moment in time, and how do we actually get this different type of item into one of these groups with everything? Well, first of all, we'll want to make a subgroup by clicking the plus icon in order to make that group. Once again, this makes a subgroup within it, and you can pretty much keep going with these subgroups if you want to get super technical with your operations. But for simplicity's sake, we're only going to go with one main group and one subgroup for this video. What we'll be wanting to do is just call this vanilla, and with that being said, we can go over towards our base group. By going over towards your base group, you can search for any item within the game. You have a selected ungrouped items as either the base item, item level, or a specific item. Now, with this one, I would always go with base item because this is a base set item in total, and we'll get into these specific items and item levels when we get into our further crafting. And just to make it a bit more clearer, I've just changed the UI just so it's much easier for you guys to see. We'll just shift click and we'll see that we've got the raw spotted yellowtail and the spotted yellowtail. What we want to do is have the one with the crafting on it because we'll be using this for later date, and adding in the spotted yellowtail right there. If we go down towards the bottom, we can see that selected group is applied. Now we can select a group to add to our groups and or subgroups in this particular field for grouping. We can click vanilla because that's the group that we created, and we can just move that particular item over. If we press move and then check our group, we have the yellow spotted tail within that. That means that anything within this group will be affected by any of the operations we apply to this. Now we're going to just create another group and just call it farming for a base set as well. So we've now just set up our basic group for yellow spotted tail, and we can then set up a farming one. Now we're going to just call this vanilla, and as we are really close to Elven Forest, we're going to just mine some copper ore quickly, put a little cap on, and now we've got that copper ore and rough ore as well. A big thank you to TSM for sponsoring this video. They've rolled out new premium tiers and a fresh new website. With the gold tier, you get access to your add-on data on their website and receive email alerts when your tracked items hit certain price points on the auction house and black market auction house respectively. If you opt for platinum tier, you'll also enjoy advanced ledger data, automatic group imports, and Discord alerts along with email notifications. Plus, you'll be able to see sale prices and rates over time for each item. Don't forget to use the link in the description for 15% off for your first premium package. Thank you TSM for sponsoring this video once again, and now back to the video. We can open up the TSM groups once again, and farming, vanilla, ores, and then we just apply these ones. This is another way in order to actually add them to the groups. You can either add it through your base group, or you can also add it through actually having it in your bag. It will come under ungrouped items in bags, and then you can add that in. So what we'll do is we'll select, and add it to the ores under farming vanilla subgroup ores. And that being said, we've got those right there. Those ones will then be applied with anything that of the operations that are applied to that, so we can hold that for later date. And now let's have a nice little look over at operations. If we close our bags down and we go in towards our operations, we can have a look at our auctioning operations. Today we're just going to make a basic posting operation, and by default you already have a posting operation for your base group. Now you can get rid of this, but I tend to just adapt it, as anything in your base group is declared as an ungrouped item, and then so I use it as more of a catch-all. So I thus change it up and add it into my own posting operation full scale. Now if we have a look at our posting right now, we can see that with the default one, we can then just rename this to just say, oh, and I'm just going to call it catch all, because this will catch all unparented items at this moment in time. So what we'll do is we can then set our auction operation for this, and our auctioning duration is, the standard process is 24 hours. Now we can set this at a later date for other different types of things. However, with the post cap, I tend to always just go with the max, because I really do tend to just spam farm and then just post it all to the auction house. So what I do is just set it to 50,000 at your post cap. Now you don't have to do this. This is just something I just generally tend to do, and it's what you feel comfortable using. Then you're going to say the amount kept in your bags. This is if you're farming up like battered hilts and you only really want to post like one at a time, or keep a certain amount in your bags in order to not flood the auction house and just merge it down. But for me on this video, I'm really just going to keep it at 0 because I really don't need it. And then we can move down to the next one, which is don't post after this many expires. This is more of a catch-all. You do not lose gold. So say that you wanted to repost something for 10 times, but other than that, after 10 times, if it hasn't sold, then you'll be wanting to just vendor it or get rid of it in a different way. This could either be disenchanting, milling, whatever the item is. You could theoretically just sell it to the vendor if you wanted to. This is just one of those things that we use as a nice little catch-all if you don't want to lose gold in that sense. Now, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to post it at a maximum expires of 5. Now, generally speaking, I farm a lot of materials, and we are building up on this for the materials, so we'll set this as our default catch all to actually 0, because we want to just keep reposting it if it's not grouped, because generally once you're farmed or you've crafted an item and you haven't grouped it, you'll be wanting to catch that overall. So actually on second thought, you'll be wanting to add it to at least like 2 posts, and then it will say when you're posting, oh, this has reached its maximum amount of expires, and then you can actually group it if you haven't actually done that. The next part is your posting price. Now posting price, you do get a nice little TSM string for your minimum price right here, and overall this one is something that will actually just do the job in general. So I would honestly, for your default catch-all, just leave it as it is, and we'll add that into the next one by adapting this overall. So realistically, you don't really need to care about your undercut amount. If you really wanted to be finicky about this for your next part, realistically just say 1 silver and it will just undercut like there, but realistically you don't need that, and it's been pretty much irrelevant due to the new auction house merge. So just bear in mind with that. If you really wanted to undercut, the option is there, which is great from TSM. However, I generally don't undercut amounts that much. Now what we'll do now is we'll just create a duplicate of this profile, because we've already set up the top part, and we're going to leave this at this posting string for your default catch-all. So what we'll do is we'll click this lovely little icon right here, and it will create a catch-all number 1. So what we'll call this is, we'll say the farming post op. Our farming post op, we'll name it to that, and what we will be wanting to do is change this to whatever this is. Now for default sake, when we're actually getting started, we'll just say DB market. TSM does a great job just undercut or value it normally, so what we'll do here is we'll just change all of these to DB market quickly, and then we can adapt that as follows. What we'll be wanting to do here is we'll be wanting to set this to 100%. So at minimum price, we just want to set it at 100%, and at our maximum for farming, we're going to be wanting to just adapt this into something a little bit more higher priced, which we'll just say 500% DB market for simplicity's sake. And for your normal price, we'll just say 200%. TSM will just undercut the lowest one, so that's really not that much of a problem. But if there's a low supply on the auction house, it will just post and adjust due to these. So starting out, and you're just starting out with your actual posting and farming operations, just stick with this. It will be much simpler in the general grand scheme of things. You can just adapt this going further, and in the series we'll be adapting these even further to actually maximize the amount of gold that we're actually producing. Now comes the little drop down menus. When at the minimum price, at the moment it is by default set to don't post items. What I like to do is I have a nice little amount to choose from, and that is don't post items at minimum price, post items at maximum price, post at normal price, and ignore auctions below minimum price. What I like to set it at, and I always have, is post at minimum price. So whether or not it is below the minimum price that we are setting, which is 100% DB market, we're just going to post it at minimum price. Now this will make more sense later down in the future. However, this is just so you check and also make sure that you're not destroying yourself when you're actually posting it. It's another little catch-all that's built into TSM when you're posting to the auction house. With that being said, when we go towards our maximum post, it's already set to post at maximum price, which we'll just leave right there. Now the question is, are farmed items with copper ore? Well, if we go over towards our details under our farming post operation, we can have a nice little look at group management. If we go over towards our group management, we'll go towards farming, and we want to collect the main group of farming. This will select all of the subgroups underneath the farming module, and we can just say select group. Now this has now changed in our chat log and told us which ones have actually changed. And if you can see right here, the group management, anything in the ores group, so any items that are linked within ores, vanilla, and or farming, any of those groups, it will then be counted under the farming post operation that we've just created. Now I would be remiss if I did not go over towards council scanning, so let's have a look. With council scanning, you have a few options to go from. You have a repost threshold of 1 gold. I generally don't play around with this. This is just standard procedure. However, with cancel undercut auctions, we can see, do we want cancelling on when we do a cancel scan? The option is always set to yes for me, because if I'm cancel scanning, I generally want to cancel to undercut auctions and cancel to repost higher. Now this one you can switch on and off. However, I just generally leave cancelling as a default as it is, because it just does a really good job by default. TSM did a great job of just presetting this for us, so we don't really screw ourselves over. That being said, when we go back towards our groups, just to finish off this starter version of everything, with the cooking one, if we can have a look over towards our groups, we can have a nice little look at our operations. As you can see, it's only being done with the default catch-all because it's already affected by the default catch-all by default. Who would have figured? And if we go over towards our farming now, it will change towards our operation of farming post operation. And this one is the one that we've just created, and now we can post that to the auction house. So let's have a look at jumping on our Brutosaur and posting that copper ore that we were posting to the auction house. If we go in towards our auctioning, we can see that we've got all of our base groups selected. So let's just run a post scan with just that farming one selected. So any groups, any items that were in that group are now going to be posted. We can see that it's automatically just undercut the competition. So below minimum price, posting out the minimum price. So what we've actually set in our TSM is doing exactly what we've told it to do in that farming post operation. And if we post those to the auction house, that is now on the auction house as we see. Now, one little thing with your groups and my operations, we can have a look at going in towards this and just selecting a group. This is done by the top down menu, and we can just select this and then select group, and it will show us the items that are posted towards our farming operation. Sweet. And then we can actually see that it's filtered and the total value right here, which is 33 gold, and then that's the gold that we've collected right here. Hopefully this gives you a nice little baseline on basic group setup and operations. Next we're going to be covering in towards crafting and then moving over forward with a bit more technical operations moving forward within this series. And take it easy, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be soon.